It's kind of a silly little acronym we have here to remind us of our values, the distillation of the principles we've carried with us for so many years. I want you to know, if jet pig doesn't work for you, our little jet pig here, love, will not be offended. They are the embodiment of love, after all. And it's just meant to be useful, so if it's not useful for you, let it go. Soon this little dude will retire. They will not be living in our office anymore. I'm going to take off their jetpack, and they will return to my home, where they have lived for many years with their wings, as a reminder that my wife and I give to each other, that sometimes seemingly impossible things do happen. And as Judy said, these values can seem like they're among those. Jet pig is kind of a silly little reminder, but the values are very serious things, because it's a serious world with serious problems. And I think that wisdom that Judy brought us, that love can be in our lives in very small acts of kindness, moments of attention, is really helpful when this all feels too big. We have these great big values, big abstract words to remind us of what's important. But the old saying, think globally, act locally. I think it's useful to think big, act small. And not that love is a small thing or easy to practice. It's not at all, as we have these, as it says here in our Article 2 in the bylaws of the UUA that now include these words. Can you switch to the next slide? Yeah. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. And it's a spiritual discipline. It's not easy. It's not easy to be loving to strangers or even to the people that we love the most and know the best. But we know how it shows up in our lives. And sometimes that can help us bridge the gap between our little lives and these great big principles. So I'm just going to touch on them briefly. Some of the ways that I see how they each touch love. They each are centered upon love. The march this week and the ones that Annika shared with us are a great example of how justice grows out of love. Cornel West said, "Justice is what love looks like in public." And if you're not a demonstration kind of person, that's okay. Lots of ways to show your love and work for justice. I think the people who do show up to march in that particular way and say, we want justice, they're saying, what did the poet just say? We mostly don't want to hurt each other. And when we look around at injustice, we recognize, that's what's happening. We are hurting one another. We don't want to do that. We want to be moved by love. And so we step into justice. We might even raise our fists or our voice, make a big sign with a sarcastic comment to say, this is not love what we have here. I want to move our justice system, our laws, our social mores closer to love. And that means acting for justice. Equity is in a very similar spirit, of course. And we can think about big things, important things, addressing poverty, economic justice. Does that seem like it needs to be more intimate? Or racial justice? Or the inequity between people of different physical abilities so big that they seem beyond love? Well, I'm thinking about children and what makes them know that they're loved. And how some children, when they go to school, see evidence all around them that people care for them. The colors are bright. The paint job is new. The teachers are paid enough and have materials so that they can create attractive classrooms and not be burned out. The people who are deciding whether the school will have new books and up-to-date buildings and a great playground and teachers who are supported, that's us. Those people are saying, yes, these children deserve as much as any child. And when children walk into that environment, they feel it. They know that's love. And when they don't, when they see peeling paint and holes in the walls and textbooks that are from their parents' generation, might take them a while because children think whatever they grow up with is just the way things are. But when they learn that that's not the way everybody lives, they'll know. They'll know that inequity means somebody didn't speak up in love for us. So can we tap into that when we're at a, city council meeting or wherever these decisions get made? I want children to know that they're loved. With transformation, what comes to my mind is, and this is tricky, that when we're willing to transform ourselves, when we're inspired to become something closer to our best selves, it's usually for love. We can do it for bad reasons too. But when we think, oh yes, I really do want to change in some way, it's because somebody loves us and we love them. Sometimes that someone is ourselves. I want to live into what I can be so that I am a happier, more fulfilled person. And sometimes it's somebody in our families who says, can I confess I'm a little addicted to even just the reels I see? I don't watch the show. The reels of a show called Couples Counseling. Watching people come together, have couples counseling on television. It sounds really sensationalistic, but it's not. And I see, oh, those people are willing to change. They're listening to each other and saying, here's what I need. What do you need? Because they love each other. And then pluralism and interdependence are kind of two sides of a coin. Interdependence declares that we need each other, really because there isn't an each other. We are all part of the same thing, and none of us is really complete without everything else. The great Zen teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, called this interbeing. He said we talk about we are, he is, I am, you are, but really we inter-are. And he gives that example that we all understand of nature. He says if you're a mountain climber or someone who enjoys the countryside or the forest, you know that forests are our lungs outside of our bodies. Yet we are imprisoned in our small selves, he says, thinking only of some comfortable conditions for this small self while we destroy our large self. If we want to change the situation, we must begin by being our true selves. That means we have to be the forest, the river, the ozone layer. When we understand that we inter-are with the trees, we will know that it is up to us to make an effort to keep the trees alive. And of course, we inter-are with all other people, as well as with the forest, the water, and the air. Interdependence says, I care for you because I care for myself. And that great teaching of love your neighbor as yourself is in this understanding, simply as saying you can't do one without the other. To love myself is to love my neighbors. To care for my neighbors is to care for me. So I think of the value being interdependence, the value of independence declaring that. reminding us of that. That love is an embodiment of the true fact that none of us exist separately from everything else. And then the value of pluralism is how we get there. Just as in nature, you have to have lots of different kinds of beings in order to have a thriving, sustainable ecosystem. People are the same way. We need to embrace our differences because that's what makes for a strong, interdependent web. But I'm thinking about something else. When Judy and I talked about small things for this service, I started to think about small people. And that came to me specifically when I thought of the value of generosity. My daughter used to, when she was very little, she's a grown woman now, but she went to a daycare right in the center of San Francisco with City Hall on one side of the building and the Tenderloin on the other side. And when the kids went out on their little outings to the main library or a walk around the block or something like that, they would inevitably see lots of people who were in very bad shape. There are a lot of homeless folks there, people living on the street, sleeping rough. And the children, these little toddlers, the generosity came so naturally to them because it seems to me love was so close to the surface. And they didn't see people and say, oh, those are strangers, I don't care about them. They just saw people sleeping on the sidewalk. And they would say to their teachers, what's the matter with him? And the teachers would say, he looks like to me like he doesn't have a house to live in. This is where he's sleeping. And so he can't shower, and he doesn't have a comfortable place to go to the bathroom. He can't go to the bathroom most of the places around here. He's living in a really rough situation. The toddlers would say, this broke my heart in the sense of breaking it open. They would say, well, he needs a house. Can we collect money to buy him a house? And I think that is that seamless link between love and generosity. They saw someone, they cared about him, they recognized that he was suffering in a way that no one ought to suffer, and so they just said, well, can we give him something? And I think we need to get back to that, we grown-ups. We need to operate like small people who don't have all of these rules in their minds, like, well, how did he get there? Or we can't possibly do this because it would create this kind of problem in our system. We can't possibly just give people what they need in terms of housing and mental health care and rehab if they're struggling with drugs. And just TLC. No, we can't do that. Well, those are all grown-up thoughts. And I don't want to put aside grown-up sophistication. Because obviously the children's solution, let's collect money and give it to him, is not going to take care of it. Not only because they have no idea that the couple of dollars that a few toddlers could raise is desperately short of what it actually takes to house somebody in San Francisco, but because all these complexities exist and we need to understand them. It's good to grow up and have adult ways of handling complex problems. But I think a real tragedy is that we, along the way, lose that immediacy. We need to give people what they need: housing, health care, enough to eat, because they need it. And we are living with a heart of love. Everything has to be driven by that. And it seems to me that our principles and our values are just here to remind us, be like a little child. Use an adult's understanding of strategy and complexity, but do not lose a child's immediate sense of love and what it impels us to do. We must solve this the way we do for somebody we love dearly. When they're in trouble, we lose sleep, we do research, we get on the phone, we set up networks, we do everything we can possibly do to make sure that they are not sleeping on the street or some other such tragedy. That's what love says. And how did we get from the toddlers saying, oh, well, then we need to do that for him, to walking by our neighbors as they have nothing? This is all this is about. All these weeks of reminding ourselves what our values are and having a little mnemonic to remind us, and Katie and Crystal's beautiful song, and our religion, the whole purpose of having a religion. Because we UUs, we're not here to rack up the credits to get into heaven. We're not here for fear of hell. Many of us are not here because we think a God has called us here, although some of us do. Some of us are. We're here to let love grow in our hearts and flow out in the ways it flows out in all of these values and others that are not even listed here. And if you apply each of these, if you think about a child doing each of these things, you'll see how important it is to get back in touch with that. Like justice is such a big abstract thing. Every child knows about justice. That's not fair. They know what that means. And yeah, we know it's complicated. How do you actually negotiate people's competing claims and create justice? Okay, it's complicated. But that impulse, why do we have to be fair? Because that's what love asks of us. That's what we're called upon to do. So, I would love to hear all the ways in which you think that love inspires these values, how it connects to everything for you. What helps you to live with that open-heartedness so that, as Judy said, a tiny temple might be within your heart at all times for those who you've encountered. Maybe we'll stay after our annual meeting and talk about that some.